Have you ever woken up to find 100 strangers camping on your land without permission? That's exactly what happened to me. But instead of calling the cops, I had a better idea. Let's just say, by sunrise, the party was over, literally. I've been dreaming of this weekend for months. My family's ranch, tucked away in the rolling hills of central Texas, was my escape from the grind. A place where I could sit on the porch with a mug of black coffee, saddle up my mare Daisy for a long ride, and maybe finally finish that worn copy of Lonesome Dove sitting on my shelf. This wasn't just land to me. My granddad broke his back clearing these fields, and my dad taught me how to mend a fence before I could ride a bike. Every splintered post and muddy hoof print carried a story. So when I stepped outside that Saturday morning and saw 100 strangers turning my slice of peace into a damn county fair, I nearly choked on my coffee. Tents, gaudy, neon things sprouted across the north field like weeds after a rain. People buzzed everywhere, unloading coolers, hammering steaks, and lighting campfires like they owned the place. Kids shrieked as they cannonballed into my stock pond. Their parents sprawled on picnic blankets with beers in hand. The air stank of charred burgers and that synthetic campfire smell from store-bought logs. Some fool had hauled out a Bluetooth speaker, blaring Luke Bryan so loud it drowned out the cicadas. My dirt road was a parking lot, trucks and SUVs wedged together, blocking the barn, and a pack of teens sprinted past, tossing Miller Lite cans into the sagebrush. A guy in a Hawaiian shirt, so bright it hurt my eyes, raised his drink at me. "Yo, man. Sweet digs. Karen said this spot was gold." Karen. My gut twisted like I'd swallowed barbed wire. Only one Karen could pull this off, the HOA tyrant from Pinewood Estates, the cookie-cutter neighborhood a mile east of my fence line. She'd been a thorn in my side since she moved in 5 years ago, waving her clipboard like a scepter. She once tried to fine me for my windmill because it clashed with the aesthetic. Never mind that it's been spinning since 1952, long before her cul-de-sac existed. Another time, she sent me a letter demanding I stop running my tractor on Sundays because it disrupted brunch. Karen lived to flex her imaginary power, and now she'd turned my ranch in her latest ego trip. I took a deep breath, counted 10. Granddad swore by 10 when dealing with fools, and started down the path. My boots crunched gravel, but the crowd barely noticed. A guy in a trucker hat looked up from his tent stakes and grinned. "You joining us, buddy? Got an extra chair?" "Nope," I said, my voice clipped. "Just passing through." I wove through the chaos until I found her. Karen, perched on a folding chair in the center of it all, directing traffic like a drill sergeant. "No, the keg goes there. And someone fix that fire. It's not big enough for selfies." "Karen," I said, loud enough to cut through her yapping. She spun around, beaming like she'd just won the lottery. "Mike, good morning. Isn't this amazing? Look at all these happy families. What are they doing on my land?" I asked, keeping my tone steady even as my pulse thumped in my ears. She flicked her wrist like I'd asked about a fly. "Oh, relax. It's just one night. The community needed a getaway, and your field was sitting here, empty. Wasted potential, really. Wasted," I said, my grip tightening on the mug. "This is my family's ranch, Karen. 3 generations of blood and sweat. I don't recall signing it over to your HOA." She let out a laugh that grated like a rusty hinge. "Mike, don't be so territorial. It's just dirt. They're here now, so what's the harm?" I scanned the field. A bonfire flickered 10 yards from my barn, too close for comfort. A guy in cargo shorts was perched on my fence post, rocking back and forth until it snapped, sending him sprawling with a whoop. Beer cans littered the grass like confetti. "No harm," I said, my voice dropping low. "You're tearing on my property." She rolled her eyes. "You're such a drama queen. The HOA board loves community events like this. Builds spirit." Funny, I shot back. "Because my deed says this land's mine, not yours. HOA doesn't own a damn inch of it." Her smirk faltered just for a heartbeat. But Karen never folded easy. "Details," she huffed, crossing her arms. "It's about unity. You should be proud to contribute." Before I could answer, a slosh guy in a cowboy hat stumbled over, slopping beer on my boots. "Hey dude," he slurred. "You the owner? Killer spot. Mind if we grab some firewood? That fence looks primo." Karen clapped her hands. See? They adore it. I wiped my boot on the grass, staring her down. Primo, huh? Yeah, man, he said, grinning. Keeps the vibes going. I forced a tight smile. Knock yourself out. Then I turned to Karen. You sure about this? She tilted her head, suspicious. Sure about what? Staying, I said. Hope y'all are early risers. She squinted, trying to read me, but her ego won out. Oh, please. We're fine. Enjoy your coffee, Mike. She waved me off and turned back to her minions. Let's get that second fire going. I didn't argue. Just walked back to the house, my mind churning. They'd pitched their tents in the north field, the one my bulls called home, and I wasn't about to warn them. The party raged past sundown. From my porch, I watched the madness unfold, the glow of bonfires lighting up the night. That damn speaker switched to karaoke, some guy butchering Sweet Home Alabama, while the crowd cheered. A second fire roared up, even closer to my barn, and I caught a whiff of burning cedar, my fence posts, no doubt. Kids darted around, chasing fireflies, while their parents played cornhole with glow-in-the-dark beanbags. The pond rippled with late-night swimmers, their drunken splashes echoing across the pasture. Karen held court near the keg, sipping rose from a plastic cup and laughing too loud. This wasn't just a campout to her. It was a throne, a chance to show off her pull. I'd seen it before, like when she strong-armed the HOA into banning Christmas lights that weren't white for uniformity. But she'd never dared cross my fence line until now. Around 10, a woman in a tie-dye shirt wobbled up to my porch, cup in hand. Hi, she chirped. You're the ranch guy, right? This is so fun. Can we use your bathroom? The porta-potty's a war zone. I leaned on the railing, eyeing her. Nope. She pouted. Come on. Karen said you're cool with all this. Karen's full of it, I said. Y'all figure it out. She huffed and tottered off, muttering about grumpy cowboys. I shook my head. Fine. Let them stew. An hour later, a stocky guy with a goatee approached, hands in his pockets. Hey, mister, he said, glancing back at the crowd. Some of us didn't know this was your land. Karen said it was public or something. You mad? I studied him. He looked uneasy, not drunk like the rest. Mad, I said. Not at you. Yet. He shifted. She charged us $50 to camp here. Said covered food and stuff. But, I'm starting to think she's full of crap. I smirked. $50, huh? Keep your eyes open, friend. He nodded and shuffled off, casting a wary glance at Karen. Good. Doubt was spreading. By midnight, the energy waned. Tents zipped shut, fires dimmed, and the pond went still, reflecting the stars. A breeze rustled the trash, cans, wrappers, a lone flip-flop strewn across my field. I stayed up, pacing the porch, coffee long gone cold. I could call Dawson, the sheriff, and end this now. Trespassing's a slam dunk. But that'd be too easy. Karen needed a lesson she'd never forget. I slipped into the barn, checking on my bulls. Red, the lead beast, 2,000 pounds of muscle and attitude, snorted as I approached. The herd shifted, restless after a day penned up. I ran my hand along the gate, picturing the north field. Those idiots had no clue what was coming. I grabbed my phone, snapped a photo of Karen's Facebook post, $50 for an exclusive HOA nature retreat, and sent it to Dawson with a note. Might need you tomorrow. Then I locked the barn and waited. Dawn crept over the hills, painting the sky gold. Mist hung low, curling around the tents like a ghost. The air was sharp, quiet save for the occasional snore. I pulled on my boots and headed to the barn, the plan locked in. Red pawed the ground as I unlatched the gate. Ready, big guy? I muttered. He snorted, nostrils flaring. I stepped back and swung the gate wide. For a moment, they just stood there, dark shapes in the mist. Then Red charged, the herd thundering behind him. The ground shook like an earthquake, hooves pounding a war drum. They tore into the field, mist swirling around them like a damn cavalry charge. The first scream came from a guy unzipping his tent, stretching with a yawn, until he saw Red barreling down. What the? He dove back inside, collapsing the tent in a heap of flailing limbs. A woman in a sleeping bag sat up, bleary-eyed, then shrieked, Bulls! She scrambled up, tripped over a cooler, and belly flopped into a pile of soggy hamburger buns. The camp exploded. Tents toppled as people bolted, half-dressed and howling. A bull smashed through a picnic table, sending beer cans flying like shrapnel. A guy clung to a tree branch, yelling, "Call 911," while his tent flapped below like a flag. Another genius tried to shoo Red away with a selfie stick. Big mistake. Red lowered his horns, and the guy sprinted off, stick and all. Karen stumbled out of her deluxe tent, robe flapping, hair a rat's nest. What the hell? A bull trotted past, snorting in her face. She screeched, windmilling her arms, and tripped over her own cooler, landing ass up in the dirt. I strolled up, coffee in hand, grinning like a kid on Christmas. "Morning, Karen. Bulls wake you." She scrambled up, face purple. "You're insane. There are bulls everywhere." "Yep," I said, sipping. "My bulls. My land." "You did this on purpose," she screamed, jabbing a finger at me. "Just let him graze," I said. "You picked their field. Should have checked." A guy ran by, tent tangled around his legs, yelling, "Where's my truck?" The porta potty tipped over, and its occupant crawled out, cursing and drenched. Karen's jaw worked like a fish out of water. "You think this is funny?" she spat. "People could die." "Funny," I said. "You didn't care when they were burning my fence and trashing my granddad's legacy." Before she could retort, a sheriff's truck rolled up, dust swirling. Sheriff Dawson stepped out, hat low, surveying the wreckage. Karen lit up like she'd seen Jesus. "Sheriff," she cried, running over. "Arrest him. He attacked us with bulls." This was a peaceful retreat. Dawson sighed, pulling out a paper. Karen slowed down. "Yes," she said. "Lock him up." He nodded at me. "Mike filed a trespassing complaint last night. Send me proof you charge folks to camp here, too. This land's his, not HOA turf. You know that." Karen's mouth flapped. "It's a misunderstanding." Dawson flipped his notes. "Property damage, fences, litter, theft of firewood. And that $50 donation scam? That's fraud on private land." I held up my phone, showing the post. "Right here, Sheriff." Karen went white. "Those were supplies, not profit." Dawson whistled. "Tell it to a judge. Unless you'd rather settle now." "Settle," she squeaked. "Pay Mike for every busted post, every can, every damn thing," Dawson said. "And stay off his land. Forever." "And if I don't?" she whispered. He grinned. "Court. And I don't think you'll like the fines." She swallowed, then nodded, defeated. "Fine. I'll pay." Dawson tipped his hat and headed back. Karen glared at me, shaking. "You think you've won?" I sipped my coffee, slow and deliberate. "Karen, I don't think." "I know. Next time, bring a bulletproof tent and a map." She stormed off, slamming her car door and peeling out. The last campers fled, some muttering apologies, others dragging half-collapsed tents. The field fell silent, just me, the bulls, and a hell of a cleanup. The next day, I posted on the HOA Facebook page, "Hey, Karen, next time you crash my ranch, bring a bull-proof tent. And maybe a lawyer." The comments erupted. "Running shoes, too. Girls got no game. Best HOA fail since the Great Gnome Ban of 22. That dude with the tent on his back, track star material. Rancher 1, Karen 0. Texas proud. Running of the HOA needs to be a thing." By noon, Karen's account was deleted. But the story didn't end there. Monday, a pickup rolled up, goatee guy from the campout. He handed me a check for $200. "Some of us pitched in," he said. "Karen stiffed you, but we're not all assholes. Sorry about your fence." I took it, nodding. "Appreciate it." He smirked. "Heard she's stepping down from the HOA. Too embarrassed to show her face." I chuckled. Good riddance. Tuesday, a certified letter arrived, Karen's payment for the rest, with a scrawled note. "This isn't over." I tossed it in the fire pit. She'd learn eventually. Never mess with a rancher. Especially one with bulls, a grudge, and a damn good lawyer on speed dial. The lesson learned. So, what's the takeaway from this wild tale of bulls, beer cans, and one very smug HOA queen? It's simple. Respect boundaries, or you might just get trampled. Mike's ranch wasn't just dirt. It was his legacy, his pride, and Karen learned the hard way that you don't waltz onto someone's turf and act like you own it. Life's got a funny way of balancing the scales, sometimes with a herd of angry bulls. The lesson here isn't about revenge. It's about standing up for what's yours and letting entitled folks figure out they're not as untouchable as they think. Next time you're tempted to overstep, maybe check the fence line first. You never know what's waiting on the other side. The message conveyed. This story's got a deeper heartbeat. Home isn't just a place, it's a fight worth having. Mike didn't just defend his land. He defended the memories of his granddad breaking the soil and his dad teaching him to mend fences. It's a shout out to anyone who's ever had something precious, whether it's a patch of earth, a family heirloom, or just their peace of mind, and refused to let it be steamrolled by someone else's ego. Karen thought she could bend the world to her rules, but the real power lies in knowing what you stand for and holding your ground. It's a Texas-sized reminder that roots run deep, and you don't mess with someone's soul without expecting a reckoning. Personal perspective. From where I'm sitting, this story hits me right in the gut. I grew up hearing my own grandpa talk about the land he worked. Nothing fancy, just a stubborn patch of dirt he turned into a life for us. Mike's fight feels personal because I've seen that same fire in people who've had enough of being pushed around. Karen's the type we've all met. Loud, bossy, and blind to the chaos she leaves behind. But Mike? He's the quiet strength that doesn't need to yell, just acts. I love how he didn't just call the cops and call it a day. He turned the tables with a grin and a herd of bulls. It's petty, sure, but damn if it isn't satisfying. To me, this is about knowing your worth and dishing out a lesson that sticks, preferably with a side of hoofprints. Love this tale of rancher justice and HOA humiliation. Then saddle up and hit that follow button on Story Precious. We're churning out fresh, wild stories like this all the time. Tales of epic wins, hilarious flops, and everything in between. Subscribe now on YouTube or wherever you get your kicks, and don't miss a single video. From bulls chasing Karens to underdogs taking the crown, we've got the latest and greatest waiting for you. Join the crew at Story Precious, because the next story is going to be a stampede you won't want to miss.